good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. I just need you to remember something. Context is everything. This is Context is Everything Media Network. John Michael Monroy, founder and CEO of Context is Everything Media Network, here with another episode of the newly rebranded Ambient Classroom, the Ambient Classroom. The Ambient Classroom is an episode in where I will read through this textbook, published in 2001, so as to solidify my context in the historical sense. Historical context as we embark on this journey that I will call the Context is Everything Media Network. So I think it's a good way to start on a symbolic level as well as a actual context building level. Here today we find ourselves discussing the strong rulers of ancient China. Why don't we get right into it? Yesterday we talked about religions in the ancient Chinese culture. That would be Taoism, Confucianism, and Buddhism, and the basics about all of them. To give you a short rundown of those basics, stay tuned. Setting the scene for strong rulers in China, who united China, ancient China. I need to pronunciate my words better. Okay, setting the scene. From his base in western China, the powerful ruler of the state, Qin, rose to unify all of China. An ancient Chinese poet and historian described how Zhang crushed all of his rivals. Cracking his long whip, he drove the universe before him, swallowing up the eastern and the western Zhao and overthrowing the feudal lords. In 221 BC, Zhang proclaimed himself Shi Huang Di, or First Emperor. Though his methods were brutal, he ushered in the first China's classical age. Historians call it a classical civilization because it has set patterns in government, philosophy, religion, science, and the arts that served as a framework for later cultures. Shi Huangdi. Shui Hangdi was determined to end the divisions that had splintered Zhao China. He spent 20 years conquering most of the warring states. Then, he centralized power with the help of legalist advisors. Legalist, another topic from yesterday's section. Using rewards for merit and punishments for failure, he built the strong authoritarian government of the Qin dynasty. Sima Qian, who served later Chinese emperors as grand historian of the court, described a monument that Shi Huangji had built atop a mountain, with an inscription praising the emperor's accomplishments. A new age is inaugurated by the emperor. Rulers and measurers are rectified. The myriad things set in order, and there is harmony between father and sons. The emperor, in his sagacity, benevolence, and justice, has made all laws and principles manifest. Sima Qian, quoted in Records of the Historian. Subheading under Shi Huangji. Unity imposed. Emperor Shi Huangji abolished feudalism in China, whereby many local rulers had owed little allegiance to any central government. He replaced the feudal states with 36 military districts and appointed loyal officials to administer them. He then sent inspectors to spy on the local spies to spy on the local officials to administer them. Now, he sent inspectors to spy on local officials and report back to him. Shi Huangji forced noble families to live in his capital of Zhangyang, or Xianyang, where he could monitor them. He disturbed the lands of the displaced nobles to peasants. Distributed. Oh, come on. This whole reading thing is getting really taxing on my eyes. Not really, I'm just not a very good reader. He distributed the lands of the displaced nobles to peasants. Still, peasants had to pay high taxes to support Shi Huangji's army and building projects. This guy sounds like a real brute. To promote unity, the first emperor standardized weights and measures to replace the diverse coins of the Zhou states with Qin coins, Qin. He also had scholars create uniformity in Chinese writing. Workers repaired and extended roads and canals and strengthened the transportation system. A new law even required cart axles to be the same width so that wheels could run in the same ruts on all Chinese roads. That's pretty interesting. So, like, picture a dirt road with, like, the wheel holes in it because of the tracks that the wheels leave. What he's saying is, don't make new holes for the wheels to ride in. Everyone's got to have the same width of the wheel, of the distance between the wheel, so that they can all ride in the same rut. I think that's pretty nifty for ancient times, especially. Crackdown on dissent, subheading under Shi Huangji. Shi Huangji moved harshly against critics. He jailed, tortured, and killed many who opposed his rule. Hardest hit were the feudal nobles and Confucian scholars who despised his laws. To end dissent, Shi Huangji approved a ruthless campaign of book burning, ordering the destruction of all works of literature and philosophy. Only books on medicine and agriculture were spared. The Great Wall. The Great Wall. Subheading under Shi Huangji. Shi Huangji's most remarkable and costly achievement was the Great Wall. In the past, individual feudal states had built walls to defend their lands against raiders. Shi Huangji ordered the walls to be joined. Hundreds of thousands of laborers worked for years through bitter cold and burning heat. They pounded earth and stone into mountainous wall, almost 25 feet high, topped with a wide brick road. Many workers died in harsh conditions. Over the centuries, the wall was extended and rebuilt many times. Eventually, it snaked for thousands of miles across northern China. While the wall did not keep invaders out of China, it did demonstrate the emperor's ability to mobilize the vast resources of China. In the long run, the Great Wall became an important symbol to the Chinese people, dividing and protecting their civilized world from the nomadic or wandering bands north of the wall. Subheading under Shi Huangji is collapse. Shi Huangji thought his empire would last forever. But when he died in 210 BC, Anger over heavy taxes, forced labor, and cruel policies. Anger over heavy taxes, forced labor, and cruel policies exploded into revolts. As Qin power collapsed, Liu Bang, an illiterate peasant leader, defeated rival armies and founded the new Han Dynasty. Like earlier Chinese rulers, Liu Bang claimed that his power was based on the mandate of heaven, which, if we recall, the mandate of heaven is that God will step in if leadership is not being virtuous, and God will appoint a new leader. And that's what Liu Bang is claiming he is. He's the mandate of heaven's response to the heavy taxes, forced labor, and cruel policies of the Qin dynasty and the Qin leader Shi Huangji, who created the beginning of the unified Great Wall of China that we see today on your Apple TV screensaver in stunning high definition. Han Dynasty, new heading. As Emperor Liu Bang took the title of Zhao Zhu and set about restoring order and justice to his empire, although he continued earlier efforts to unify China, he lowered taxes and eased the Qin emperor's harsh legalist policies. In a key move, he appointed Confucian scholars as advisors. His policies created strong foundations for the Han Dynasty, which lasted from 206 BC to 220 AD. Oh, wow. From 206 BC to 220 AD, that's how long his policies lasted. The Han Dynasty? Han Dynasty lasted that long. Emperor Wudi is a subheading. W-U-D-I. Emperor Wudi. The most famous Han emperor, Wudi, took China to new heights. During his long reign from 141 BC to 87 BC, he strengthened the government and economy. Like Zhao Zhu, he chose officials from Confucian men of wisdom and virtue. To train scholars, he set up an imperial university at Xi'an, or Xi'an, Xian. Wudi furthered economic growth by improving canals and roads. He had granaries set up across the empire so the government could buy grain when it was abundant and sell it at stable prices when it was scarce. He reorganized finances and imposed a government monopoly on iron and salt. A monopoly is the complete control of a product or business by one person or group. The sale of iron and salt gave the government a source of income other than taxes on peasants. Wudi followed a policy of expansionism. By increasing the amount of territory under Chinese rule, he fought many battles and to expand China's borders and drive nomadic peoples beyond the Great Wall. Chinese armies added outposts in Manchuria, Korea, northern Vietnam, Tibet, and Central Asia. Soldiers, traders, and settlers slowly spread Chinese influence across these areas. Subheading under Han Dynasty, Silk Road to the West. The Emperor Wudi opened up trade route later called the Silk Road that would link China and the West for centuries. During the Han period, new foods such as grapes, figs, cucumbers, and walnuts flowed to China from Western Asia. Luckily, traders might return to China bearing furs from Central Asia, muslin from India, and glass from Rome. At the same time, the Chinese sent tons of silk westward to fill the growing demand for the prized fabric. Eventually, the Silk Road stretched 4,000 miles, linking China to the Fertile Crescent in southwestern Asia. Still, few traders covered the entire distance. Instead, goods were relayed in stages from one set of traders to another. At the western end, trade was controlled by various people, including Persians. Interesting. So they did a relay race kind of situation with silk and muslin. Scholar officials, subheading under Han Dynasty. Han emperors made Confucianism the official belief system of the state. They relied on well-educated scholars to run the bureaucratic government. A scholar official was expected to match the Confucian ideal of a gentleman. He would be courteous and dignified and possess thorough knowledge of history, music, poetry, and Confucian teachings. See, this is my goal in the Context is Everything Media Network here as we dawn on our embarkation into the 2023 and beyond. I'm building my context here just as the scholar officials did in the Han Dynasty between the year 206 BC and 220 AD. So I'm reading a history book in order to build my context for my knowledge of the world as we know it today. Because really, that's what we need to understand. The world that we know it today. And I would assume understanding history would help in that pursuit of understanding today. So I'm reading this for that purpose. We're just about out of time here. We have 3 minutes and 58 seconds left. And the chapter is nearing its end. What I'm thinking is, I could probably finish this section of the Han Dynasty right now, and then finish the rest of this section of chapter 4 tomorrow, and then do a review of the entirety of this experience, of this chapter. But right now what I'm thinking is I want to make some quick brief notes before I read anything further, so I can just finish up the Han Dynasty, achievements of the Han Golden Age, and looking ahead. I can finish all that tomorrow and then do a brief overview of this chapter as we know it. Right now I'm going to take this Sharpie marker and I'm going to write 3 things on this sticky note that stuck out to me about this section here. One of them is the guy who built the Great Wall is named Shi Hongzhi. And it was kind of already there in segments, and he started to unify it all together. He didn't finish the building, but he did. Let's credit him with the building of the Great Wall. Great Wall unified by tyrannical keen leader, right? He's a keen leader. Yeah. Keen emperor. Shi Huangzi. What else stuck out here? Liu Bang. led a revolt and earned the Mandate of Heaven's title, because he became the new emperor, Mandate of Heaven. Of emperor and his empire is the Han Dynasty. And we'll do the third one, Silk Road was 4,000 miles long. And on that note, folks, I'm really happy to have you along for this trip into the Han Dynasty, into the Qin Dynasty. Tomorrow, we're going to put a bow on it, finish up Chapter 4 in the World History book here, and move forward. We're actually going to hit the 100-page mark. So you all can pack up and mosey on to your next class. This is John Michael at Context is Everything. Always remember the facts. Or context is everything. That's a better... Always remember, context is everything. That's a better tagline.